Good morning. We'll call the Wednesday, August 9th meeting of the Criminal Justice Committee to order. Start with roll call, please.
Mr. Hess?
Present.
Mr. Long? Mr. Fairfield? Mr. Tholen? Mr. Carrico? Mr. Eckhoff? Mr. Hunter? Ms. Turner?
Present.
Ms. Monday?
Present.
Ms. Andrade?
Present.
Ms. Amanda Armour Earps?
Present.
Ms. Ritmanick Emmy?
Present.
And Mr. Scanlon? Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Alexander Hildebrand?
I'll take a motion to vote in Ms. Earps again today. Mr. Eckhoff, second by Ms. Monday. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I have not received anything for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Any public comment? Should have received the minutes for the meeting from July 12th. Take a motion to approve by Mr. Fairfield, second by Ms. Turner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Up first is Chief Judge Cunnington. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm just going to report on one thing today. You're all probably aware that the Supreme Court on July 18th reversed my decision on the Safety Act, where I held it unconstitutional last December. And so we are moving forward to implement that law, as are all the other circuits in the state of Illinois. And what we anticipate is that there will be a lower volume of people that are defendants who are arrested, who are brought before the court for detention, but the hearings will be longer because there will be more issues involved. There'll be discovery that will be tendered to the defense attorney, and there's also the possibility of calling witnesses for these hearings. So we anticipate those hearings proceeding on the more serious cases where the state's attorney has made a decision that they're going to file a petition to detain that person. So, you know, the more serious crimes, the murders, rapes, domestic batteries, things that, cases like that, the state's attorney will make a decision. They'll file the petition for detention, and then that person will be brought in at what used to be called our bond court, will now be called the detention hearing court, probably at 1:30 in the afternoon on each day of the week. And then the judge will make a decision whether or not that particular case with those particular facts would, in the judge's discretion, would be sufficient to detain that person for up to 90 days. I've signed an administrative order yesterday that appoints a public defender in every one of those cases, unless that person has their own private attorney show up for that detention hearing. Those decisions are appealable both by the defense. If the judge makes the decision to detain that person, then that is appealable by the defense, and it's also appealable by the state if the judge decides, no, we're gonna let them out pending trial. And there are some other tools in the toolbox that we have. We can put them on GPS monitoring. There's a cost associated with that, but that's also, you know, a possibility. So again, we anticipate that there will be a lot less people on the custody sheet. It will be the minor offenses now, the retail thefts, and first time, you know, the DUIs, the driving suspended, driving revoked. Some of the lower class crimes are not detainable. All the misdemeanors, except for domestic batteries, but will not be detainable. So that is effective September 18th. That will be the first day that we start with the new law. And there's you know, it was 800 pages, so there's a lot of other changes, but that's the gist of what we're going to be doing at the courthouse.
Mr. Hunter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Your Honor, I happened to watch the Kankakee City Council last night, and I agreed with some of the comments. I think if it was Alderman Osinga, and my Alderman Reggie Jones, about an orientation for policemen on the Safety Act. There are ramifications. There'll be an orientation, I think, held by or conducted by State's Attorney's Office or your office or in collaboration with your office, because you've touched upon some of the ramifications and the impact of the Safety Act, and I think we as legislators need to be somewhat abreast of what the implications are, because I'm sure some of our constituents are going to want to know what this whole thing means. You know, I was glad to hear you talk about the petition for detention, etc. There's going to be some fiscal impact as well too. And I was asking Sandy, because you know she wouldn't really know, you know, the 10% bail requirement, pardon me, is kind of tossed out the window for some of these minor crimes.
Well, all crimes.
Yeah, crime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
all
will be
crimes.
no more posting of money bail
So that has a fiscal implication in terms of the county, and I know maybe Sandy said maybe McCarty would know generally, and if there's an average or something, what we would lose in terms of funds, and I think we, again, I'm going to repeat myself, we as legislators need to know what this thing is all about. I understand the cops need to know, law enforcement needs to know, but I think we need to know too. And I'm going to pose the same question to you and to State's Attorney Rowe, if there could be, because I think Larry Ozinga asked if that particular orientation that was being conducted by whomever, if it's open to other individuals as well too, because I'd like to sit in on some of that stuff. Not at 6 o'clock in the morning. They gave some times and stuff, but is there a possibility that we as legislators, you guys could hold some kind of special session for us?
I'm going to defer to the state's attorney's office for that. I see Mr. Coughlin's here. I don't see Mr. Rowe, but they are in the process of educating the various departments on what the procedures are going to be, drafting forms. We got all new forms, but I would defer to the state's attorney's office for that kind of education. Or
Yeah, because I think they got 3 dates
Yeah.
this month, I think, for that. So I hope hopefully Jim and Coughlin and whomever is doing that, maybe they could do a special thing, because I think that training, I think they referenced Kankakee, Bradley, Bourbonnais. I'm not sure if they said Roma Park, but it's a macro kind of thing, and it'd be kind of nice if elected officials, legislators, trustees, aldermen could have the same opportunity to hear the same presentation,
okay.
or somewhat modified.
Okay. Mr. Rowe, Mr. Hunter has requested some education training seminars on the Safety Act, and I said that would more likely come from your office than from the court system.
You guys have,
Yeah.
Jim, I heard last night that you guys have 3 dates for the training of the law enforcement officials. And I was saying to the chief judge that we as legislators, either be a trustee, alderman and stuff, and county board members, we need to know what the ramifications are. The chief judge has touched on some of those things, and I know I've talked to you about it, because you're going to have more staff because of the hearing requirements and all this other stuff. So we just need to know what it's all about, so when people ask us, we're in a position of understanding and knowledge.
One other point that I just want to make is that the way the statute is written, it's there are some things that are unclear. There's quite a few things that are unclear, and there will be further legislation, further court cases that will sort a lot of that out. But our plan now is that on the weekends, instead of having full court in the courthouse, open to the public with all the staff there, on Saturdays or Sundays if there's a holiday on Monday. We're going to do just a probable cause hearing at the jail on the weekend. And then for those offenses that are detainable, the judge will make a probable cause decision. And without the defendant there, without the attorney there, it'll just be the judge and the prosecutor, and which is the way we used to do it. And then they'll be, if they're detained at that point, they'll be held over to Monday to the first appearance date, and that's when their actual detention hearing will be held, where they're brought in front of the judge. And a lot of counties are doing it that way. A lot of counties, that, especially the ones that have a lot of money, they're going full bore with court on the weekends. So we're going to try this and see what happens. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have a question
Your
about
microphone.
I have a question about the detention hearing. Once you do the hearing and like for the higher crimes, what are the possibilities of them? How long would that detention be placed?
Well, they can be held under the new statute up to 90 days before, and then they have to be tried within that 90 days, unless there's a big unless there, and that's unless the delay is attributable to the defendant.
Okay.
So if the defense attorney says, I need another 30, 60 days to do some research or talk to witnesses, whatever the case is, and that continuance is allowed, then that's on them. So it could go past the 90 days. But if they're sitting there and they're saying, I want my trial, then yeah, the state's got to bring them to trial within 90 days.
Okay, but those trials that last years that never actually get a trial date, what are we looking at those types of
Well, the trials do get delayed and people sit in custody, but it's usually in those cases, the law as it stands today is that they have to be tried within 120 days. And so what happens is that those delays are usually attributable to the defendant because they're not ready to go to trial yet.
Okay, so that means that they're going to be released, or they'll have to be detained that entire time.
Under the new law?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If the judge makes the detention, says that they're going to be detained, and they're held for up to 90 days until the trial.
And then there's no trial date set?
Well, no, it'll move quicker then, so that you may get one continuance to.
I mean, we're talking murder, okay? We're talking, and we know that those trial dates take years. With my sister, it's been 1.5 years. So, and I know many cases it's been 5 years. What does that look like?
Well, those continuances are the result of the defense saying, I need to get an expert, I need to do this, I need to do that.
Okay.
It's not the state saying we're not ready. Because what happens on the current law is if you go past the 120 days, then they get released.
Okay.
Yeah. And certainly the state's attorney's here. He can talk about that as well.
Ms. Monday.
I just again want to say thank you to you and to State's Attorney Rowe for all the work that you all put into this to try to do what's best and do what's right for the citizens in the state of Illinois. And I'm guessing that many of us never thought we'd be here, never thought we'd see this in our lifetime, and here we are. So thanks for your hard work on that, Judge, and State's Attorney Rowe, you also back there. I think I certainly appreciate your effort, even though it didn't work out like we had hoped.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Anything else for the Chief Judge? Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
Thank you.
Up next, Circuit Clerk's Office. Ms. Cianci, you have a copy of her monthly report in your packet. I'll take a motion to approve. Mr. Carrico, second by Mr. Fairfield. Morning, Sandy.
Good morning.
Comments on your reports?
Nothing. If anybody has any questions, they're normal and customary. But I do want to point out, once we get them approved, I'll point out about the 10% bond
Okay.
fee.
Any questions for Sandy on the report? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, so on my end of period listing actual report, so there's 3 pages, 3 pages of that report. A little bit about 5 or 7 down, it says office retainer, and then the number 110-500-30341. That's the 10% bond that we're talking about. So if you carry it over, this last month it was $12,180.70 is what we collected. So that was just the average for that month. If Mr. Hunter, if you want, I can get that line item and get that report generated and let you guys know what that's been like for the last couple of years or whatever.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Mr. Hunt.
if I could, Sandy, just to respond to your comment, you know, the fiscal ramifications are substantial.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you just gave this, the 12 grand for 1 month, and if that's an average, you know, that's, you know, what, 144,000, and that's not peanuts either. So, and I know we're not into the business of,
Right.
you know, making money and all that stuff, but the fiscal implications are substantial.
Yes, they are.
Anything else for us?
No, that's about it. The project with Tyler's going well. It's long. It's a lot of work, but we're getting through it pretty well. So if anybody has any other questions about
Any
that.
questions for Sandy?
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Up next, State's Attorney's Office, Mr. Rowe. In your package, you have a copy of the grand jury report and the grand jury statistics report. Take the motion to combine and approve them. Mr. Eckhoff, second by Ms. Andrade. Good morning, sir.
Morning. So you can see through the last grand jury, well, really through the end of July, looking at 495 indictments. That's compared to the same time last year, same number of grand juries. Last year we were at 436. So it's up 59 cases. That's almost a full grand jury. So that's, you know, somewhat significant. When you look at what type of offenses have increased the most last year compared to this year, you know, crimes against a person, so violent crimes, are pretty static, not much of an increase there. Weapon offenses are down by about 14. We had 61 at this time last year. We have 47 this year. Where the two jumps are in property crimes, we're talking criminal damage to property. That jumped from 65 last year to 109 this year. That's a pretty significant increase. And then narcotics offenses from 90 to 121. We are seeing a significant number of cases coming through the system now involving meth, and of course, you know, the ongoing problem with heroin.
Property damage would be non-detainable, correct?
Correct. So it's so hard to just give a yes or no answer to those questions, because there are some factors that may apply, but on the whole, criminal damage to property is not detainable. And what's scary about that is oftentimes those offenses don't happen with some random person coming down your street and, you know, knocking out your mailbox. Those are targeted crimes with a domestic component to them. So maybe an ex-boyfriend, estranged, comes to the home, and you know, his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend is not there, so he's breaking the windows, he's damaging the vehicle. There's an element of violence to those offenses, but that's not recognized under the act. So,
Any questions on the report? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
we are opening up a space in Pembroke Township on August 17th. I'd like to invite everyone to be there. We'll have a ribbon cutting. It's August 17th at 5:30 p.m. Our space is behind Lorenzo Smith School, so if you pull into their parking lot on their main road. You just walk back behind the school gates, will be open. That space is going to accommodate an extension of our victim witness services. Sometimes, whether the barrier is transportation or otherwise, it's difficult for people to get to the courthouse to either discuss their case with them, to provide them with victim and witness services, help them through the victim compensation process. So we want to bring those services into a community that is in need of them, as well as open the doors for other social service providers to use the space to provide their services. An example of that is, let's say grief counseling, for instance. Uplifted Care is a phenomenal agency. They provide that service free of charge to anyone who can access it. But who can access it is sometimes limited by certain barriers, right? Cost of transportation itself, hours of operation, when they can get a ride there. So by bringing that service into a local community where it is still provided free of charge, you're giving access to grief counseling, which is significant. So someone can get over that trauma or that loss or whatever comes with the loss by bringing those services into the community and providing them for free. And it's beyond grief counseling. We're going to have people there with NAMI, that's the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. They provide support services for family members of someone suffering from a mental illness. We will have Harbor House in Clove providing domestic violence and sexual assault counseling in the community. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention will be there. We're going to be working closely with the coroner's office on education and about prevention, Narcan training, whatever services Coroner Gessner is looking to provide. So we're trying, and I think we've got 12 or 13 organizations already partnered up. So one organization might be there, a Tuesday from 1 to 4 and serve its clients, provide counseling sessions, whatever that looks like. So I hope you'll come out and see the space. We're in the process still of getting it, set up. There'll be computers there, workstations, copy machines, printers. People can take online classes from that space. They'll be able to apply for jobs there. I think Agente staffing is going to be at the space, assisting with employment. So we're just trying to make sure all the resources that are available to so many people in our community are available to everyone in the county.
Questions, comments, Ms. Andrade?
So going back to what you had just talked
Microphone, please.
about, going back to what you had just talked about with, the damage to property and stuff like that, domestic violence and just things in general, order of protection, do you think that's going to end up rising due to with the SAFE Act too?
Well, it depends. Domestic battery, even at a misdemeanor level, is a detainable offense under the Safety Act. And if the elements are there, we'll seek to detention. If the courts detain the person, right, they're in custody for 90 days, and as the judge said, unless a delay is attributable to the defendant, they're out after the 90th day. Is that going to increase the violations of the order of protection? I guess unfortunately we'll have to see. I would guess that if more people are out that have committed a domestic battery, that have an order of protection against them, and then they're out, I would guess that those numbers are going to go up, but we won't know until, unfortunately, we're probably 6 months to a year into it.
Is there anything in the Safety Act if they're a repeat offender?
It depends. So if you commit a non-detainable offense, let's say on Tuesday you commit a criminal trespassing at a property, that's not a detainable offense. And then 2 days later you commit a criminal trespass at a different property. It's not a detainable offense. If you commit a retail theft on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and they're all under $300, so they're not even felony offenses, those are not detainable offenses. If you commit a non-detainable offense and then a detainable offense, you can be detained on the detainable offense. But never on a subsequent series of non-detainable offenses. It's
Mr. Hunter.
we just to say, we have there's individuals who may have 10, 11, 12 retail thefts pending, and they bond out at small amounts, and when a bond is set at a more significant amount, it curbs that behavior. They're not able to go back into the next store and commit the next crime. That's not going to be possible now, so we're certainly going to see an increase, I think, in property crime, in theft cases. And you have to remember, these numbers I'm talking about, property crimes, criminal damage to property, probably theft is in there. Those are felony level offenses. That's why they go to the grand jury. Those are not all of the property damage crimes in the county. Majority of those are misdemeanors. So these are all felonies. That's 109 felonies for criminal damage to property is pretty significant.
Mr. Hunter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I should not be surprised or amazed that your office is not just a prosecutor's office, that the services that you provide are exponentially increased. When you talk about what you're doing out in Pembroke and you want services for everybody, when you think in terms of the mentorship and other things you do for kids and families, I don't know how you do it. I know that you go after a lot of soft money, but your office and services are not just confined to prosecuting the bad folks. And I just take my hat off to you. Again, the information that you're providing here on the Safety Act gives credence to what I was posing to Chief Judge and to you in terms of giving some kind of, providing some kind of orientation to us, so we'll know what the implications are of the Safety Act. And I'd appreciate if you could work something out with Chairman Wheeler for us or all the trustees and aldermen throughout the county. I know that's a big ticket, but I think we need to know. And if they're interested in knowing what ramifications, they'll attend the venue that you're going to set up for us.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that. That's not a problem. We can set up a couple sessions so people can get their questions answered. I got to say that I don't do it. It's our office that does those programs. I come up with the bad ideas, they fix them, and then they implement them. But Joshua, Chris, Amber, Miles, he just graduated Navy and got married the other day. So we do miss him, but those individuals in the community division, victim witness advocates, all the prosecutors, John and Terry, and all their work, Desi and Jody upstairs. On the Safety Act lawsuit, it is definitely a huge team effort. So
I think the first meeting I was sworn in, I made reference to some of the individuals who hold positions of authority. Lori, you, the sheriff, Dan, Nick. They were rock stars. I caught hell for that. From my party, but politics is about addition and subtraction, and it's about relationships and fostering positive relationships. But again, you got a lot of rock stars in your office because all the services that you're providing, we really appreciate it. And Jim Rowe forever. State's attorney, I tell you, the services you provide, it's amazing.
You didn't give Bob much time yesterday.
Well,
I'm
Bobby
concerned
too.
now.
Well, Bobby. I mean, I had some. I got kind of teary when I was talking about Bob because there's some other stuff that Bob has done that I'll take to my grave. He is like the cream de la cream. But that Gessner family is just super. But anyway, the services you guys provide are just really amazing, and I think the 107,000 people in the county, owe you guys a debt of gratitude for the services you guys provide. And I just want to say thank you very much because oftentimes, people are griping and talking about elected officials what they don't do, but sometimes it's kind of nice for us to tell you guys what a good job you guys have done.
Yeah, it's the partnerships. It's partnerships with the coroner's office, with administration, with Sandy, with Ed, with Tom, with the sheriff, everybody. Everyone works together well. There's people that hate that. It's like a gang mentality, right? They think you need to stay on your side and everyone else needs to stay on theirs. And they don't want you to reach across the aisle. They don't want you to work with other people. It's the same mentality of the Latin Kings and the GDs, but it's at a government level, Democrats and Republicans. And you can't get anything done like that. So we all work together really well, and I think we wouldn't be able to provide any of the services in our office if we didn't have the support of Republicans, Democrats, Independents. I think there's been some libertarians that have come through the county board, you know, and everyone ultimately, like, we work together, and that's what I think gets it done.
That's it. Anything else for Mr. Rowe before he's out of here? Thank you. Up next, Mr. Pennewick from the Public Defender's Office. In the package, you have a copy of his monthly report. Take a motion to approve. Miss Monday, second by Miss Andrade. Good morning, Ed. Comments on your report, sir?
In a word, no. We have some personnel. No, not at this time.
Okay. Any questions on Mr. Pennewick's report? We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Go ahead.
Thank you, Roger. I'd like to come before the board this morning to make a public apology to one of the members of this committee. Ms. Andrade was aiding a client of mine at the courthouse a couple weeks ago. I actually saw her and the client, spoke to them briefly that morning after I left. One of my assistants, who I will not list by name, engaged with the client and Ms. Andrade and acted inappropriately, was abrasive and unprofessional. Upon that happening, I happened to be in the rotunda at that time. I didn't even know it was Ms. Andrade at that point, but I spoke to the client's mother, who also received part of the brunt of his behavior. I immediately took action to some degree. I asked that everything be put in writing. I immediately talked to the attorney in question about his behavior. I've also took steps to, well, after talking to him, I know that he reached out to the client's mother, and that he made it right with her. I did speak to her personally. I know it took a while, but I know that he did reach out to Ms. Andrade. Obviously, I don't speak for Ms. Andrade, but hopefully things, at least to some degree, got smoothed out. I have had that person take 2 what's called CLEs regarding civility and professionalism in an attempt to at least point him in the right direction. I do apologize for that, Ms. Andrade, and hopefully going forward, things will work out better, and we appreciate all your help. I appreciate all your help, and I appreciate your help with the clients too. That's a big, that's above and beyond your duty, and I appreciate you going to bat for Ms. Mack and her family. Ultimately, the case did get resolved to her satisfaction, but that, again, that does not justify his behavior, so I again apologize.
Miss Andrade.
I would just like to say thank you. He reached out several times to check up on me, so you know, thank you very much.
Yes.
And I'd like to say too, you know, obviously just being county board, but I'm glad that you took this seriously and followed appropriate action, because it could have been anybody in the courthouse who would have been in that circumstance. Just so happened that she felt like she could come forward and say something about it. Not everybody may.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any questions for Mr. Pennewick?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Up next, probation. Mr. Latham. In your package, you have a copy of Tom's monthly report. Take a motion to approve. Mr. Carrico, second by Mr. Fairfield. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Nothing to add to the report unless anybody has any questions.
Could you explain your River Valley? I had a question about that earlier.
Okay.
How it is the 12-13, 12-13.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing there. We detained 10 last month. There was 12 in custody last month because 2 rolled over. All right, there's currently 8 in custody right now. Does that make sense?
Does that make
the
sense?
Way that's
to
laid out,
everybody?
the way that's laid out is a little confusing.
Okay. Any other questions on the report? We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All I have is my monthly staffing update. We're going to be down 4 next week, which with September 18th right around the corner is an issue. And if you look at the numbers we're looking with monitoring pretrial, we would probably need several more positions from the state, but yet we can't fill what we have, so it really doesn't do much better. So we're concerned. We're going to handle it the best we can. We just don't know the numbers. We don't know how much GPS is involved and the cost of GPS and all that. So We'll know when we know, but our staff's, again, stepping up even with these vacancies and doing what they need to do, but that's what we're looking at with after September 18th, so.
Anything else?
Another thing is the new legislation starting January 1st. We will be very limited in our ability to drug test for alcohol and marijuana. So that's a huge change for us. And I understand that a lot of people the crime isn't related to that maybe, but it's obviously in the past we got to identify those issues, get help, get services for them. But that's going to go away January 1. So that's all I have.
Any questions? Miss Monday.
Why is that going away?
A new law. I mean,
Okay.
new law was passed. You can test like if they're in problem-solving courts, drug court. There's a few, but it really limits most of the individuals on supervision. Some form of supervision will not be tested for it. If you're in drug court,
Okay.
problem-solving court, they allow for that, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Up next, the sheriff. In your package, you have a copy of the sheriff's monthly report, and you should have received it electronically. Take a motion to approve that. Mr. Hunter, second by Ms. Ripmanick. I mean, hard time. 2 days in a row, I'm having problems.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Good morning. This is going to be fun this morning. I forgot my glasses.
I'd loan you mine, but
so our inmate population has remained consistent with the numbers that I've given to you over the past few months. Our average locals in July were 203. From January to July, the average is 217. So they've actually come down a little bit. Our out-of-county average for July is 391, which is a significant increase. And that number, when you take January through July, is 365. So as of July 31st, if you look to the far right, we have an additional $2 million in revenue at this time last year. So that is certainly positive. One thing to keep in mind, though, with that additional revenue, there obviously is additional costs due to some staffing that we'll talk about a little bit later under staffing. We billed out over $1 million in housing in July, and we are looking to do something similar in August. So our out-of-county numbers have been high, which in our case is a good thing. Our transports, if you look, we have them broken down into categories. And if you look under the transports to Chicago, you see last year we had 116 trips to Chicago for the U.S. Marshals. And as you can see, this year through July, we're at 138. So that has increased significantly. Obviously, with the ending of COVID, everything is now starting to happen in person. So those numbers obviously have gone up. And I know Tom touched on the River Valley issue, and I can tell you that the sheriff's office is required to do those transports, and those transports continue to go up over the last 3 years. Back in 2020, we did 184 transports from here to River Valley. In 2021, we did 214. Last year, we did 232, and we're on pace to be right around that number this year. So those are certainly things that affect our budget, affect our staffing, but things that are required. So Down under the sworn side, probably the most important thing to keep in mind is that our calls for service continues to increase, and I look for that to go up significantly after September 18th, when those who are not detained, as the term goes, go back to wherever it is they live or work or reside. And unfortunately, some will continue to require calls for service, so I anticipate that number going up because those individuals will not be in jail. Questions on the report?
No question?
If you get into a car accident,
Microphone.
if you get into a car accident on 57, who do you contact to get the report for me?
The Illinois State Police.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
And if you need some help with that, let us know. We can kind of expedite that for you if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the reports. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Computer equipment.
Yes.
We have and I think you guys have the list, right?
Yes.
All of that computer equipment, most of it is 15 to 20 years old. We got out of it what we could, and it's been replaced. I think a lot of it was done early on in 2020. As we accumulated it, it's sitting off in storage. It's really there's no use for it. I would just like it declared surplus so we could get rid of it.
Mr. Eckhoff makes the motion, second by Mr. Fairfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Replacement of total squad.
Yeah. We have, over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, there have been times where we have had vehicles that have been involved in accidents. And the last the last 2 were accidents that involved a case that we were responding to. Prior to that, it was cases that we were responding to in other jurisdictions. So, but those cars were not totaled. We have 2 cars that were totaled within the last 3 or 4 months. And as you guys know, based on the history of looking for police vehicles, they are difficult to find. In all the calls that we've found, we have found none. Now, there is a House Bill 1727, which has been signed by the governor, talks about this issue with squad cars. And the issue is that any purchase by a county with fewer than 2 million inhabitants of services, materials, equipment, or supplies in excess of $30,000 other than professional services shall be contracted for in one of the following ways. And under number 3, which is new language, by a contract let without advertising for bids in the case of expedited replacement of a disabled, inoperable, or damaged patrol vehicle of the Sheriff's Department, if authorized by the county board. So basically, I'm asking for your authorization for me to go out and try to find 2 cars that will at least get our fleet back to where we're at.
Mr. Hunter, you're making that motion?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Andrade seconded it. We're not spending anything as of
We are
right
not
now.
spending anything. All this has to, I
Correct.
just need approval to do that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just so this committee knows, we're looking for vehicles that we are able to enter into our fleet that will benefit our department. I promise I will not come back with a Lexus or a Porsche or anything like that. So we will. We do have, just so this committee knows, we have received. So one of the vehicles was a 2017. The other vehicle was a 2020, so relatively new. We weren't all that disappointed about the 2017 because ultimately that would have been replaced anyway. We did receive, after deductibles, I think we've received a total of $50,000. I think it was, in my numbers, I think it was 29,000 for the 2020, and I think it was like 18,000 for the 17. So all told, that total that we received equals about one new car. So we're going to do our best to try to finagle something where we can find money for two, but not at this point. We just need approval to go look for them.
Were these the two cars on 114?
Yep.
Any other comments on this? Mr. Hunter?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple questions, Sheriff Downey. With respect to, I know I had a discussion with you about interfacing with Senator Sims, as much as he was one of the movers and shakers on the Safety Act. Were you successful in terms of inviting him to, I don't know if it's Tri-Rivers or whatever it is, venue that you were going to have, to invite him to discuss the ramifications of the Safety Act? And there was another question I had. I don't know if Colton was going to bring this up, but anything waiting in the wings in terms of tweaking the Safety Act at all in terms of any trailer bills that the Sheriff's Association is proposing? And who's carrying the water on that?
Well, we are always, the Sheriff's Association is always trying to tweak it, but the ultimate people who tweak it are going to be Springfield. We can certainly, and we do, give our suggestions, but based on the last 3 years, they don't listen to us very much. I will tell you that after the Safety Act was, or after the Safety Act was found constitutional, I put a post out that basically said, you know, if you have a problem with what's going on as far as somebody who's not in jail or whatever, don't call the police, don't call the state's attorney, don't call the judges, call Governor Pritzker, LG Sims, and Justin Slaughter. LG Sims actually posted on that post and said that that I failed to reach out to him, that this was the first time that he's ever heard that we were opposed to it. First of all, when the Safety Act passed, he was not a representative or a senator representing any part of Kankakee County. But after they gerrymandered the map, he now represents a portion of Hopkins Park. I did reach out to our representative, Jackie Haas. I did reach out to our senator, Patrick Joyce. I reached out to the appropriate people that I reached out to. It is just another, I will tell you this, following that post, and this is the aggravating part, after he gets on there and calls me out for not contacting him, our office reached out to his office, sent him 2 emails requesting that he come to our Eastern Illinois Law Enforcement Association meeting, because that's where a lot of the chiefs are. And that was over 2 weeks ago, and we have not heard word one. So, you know, Senator Sims talks a good game, but doesn't walk the walk. And that's typical. I mean, that's what we've been dealing with. He hasn't been upfront with us, and you know, I have no reason to contact him again, because what he does or what he says can't be trusted. Staffing.
Moving on.
So yeah, so our staffing from a police side is we are good. We are at full staff. We have 2 people that have retired in the last, one is actually done August 19th, I believe. And we have replaced, well, we haven't replaced them yet, but we do have people on the list and laterals that we are going to be able to replace them with. We will then, once our list is exhausted, we will then test again and see how many we get, so that we have an active hiring list in case. And I know we have 2 people. In fact, one of the individuals you saw yesterday, Sergeant Huntley, I believe, has submitted his date in May of 2024. So he will be retiring in 2024 in May, and then another longtime employee will be retiring, I believe, in March. So we'll have 2 slots to fill. So on the police side, we're doing very well. We got a great staff. They work hard. They're still doing what they need to do based on, and they will after September 18th. Our department will continue to do what we have to do within the rules, within the laws, and we'll see what happens. I hope we don't have to say I told you so, but we'll see. On the corrections side, the jail administration on the corrections side has done a great job. And it is tough to find people who want to work in the jail. If somebody wants to work in law enforcement, they want to be the police, or they want to be probation, although Tom's struggling to find a couple people too. However, they've done a great job in getting some individuals. We've actually gotten a number of people from Illinois Department of Corrections who have come to work for us because that whole thing is kind of a it's tough to work at IDOC, let's just put it that way. So we've done good. We're probably still about 8 to 10 officers short, but through attrition and things like that, with people moving on, and police departments all across the state of Illinois are hiring. We lost 1 correctional officer to Aledo Police Department in Illinois, which is over by, I believe, Rockford or Rock Island, somewhere over there, the western part of the state. So it's not just locally we're losing correctional officers. I mean, it's statewide. So good for them. They want to do something that they've chosen to do. So, but we'll continue to work. But the correction staff has done a great job. Again, as crowded as we've been with out-of-county inmates, they've done a great job in doing what they do, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
Questions for the sheriff? Anything else?
Yeah, I got a couple things just based on some of the things we said earlier regarding the Safety Act. The chairman had requested some potential budget numbers from our office, which I have prepared. I've not given it to him yet because I don't want him to fall over. But we have put together a number of things that are going to happen. I can tell you that, and I know Sandy mentioned it a little bit, but going through our records, when you talk about bond money, because, you know, if you remember the argument that was made by a number of people regarding the Safety Act and posting cash bail, I think now they're calling it you're buying your way out of jail or whatever. But our office collects over the past three years over $3 million every year of bond money. $3 million per year. So for somebody out there to say that, you know, these, we're just holding poor people and all that, it's not true. The people that are in jail right now should be in jail. And, you know, the fact that, you know, we're collecting that much money, and we're Kankakee County, a county of 107,000, you know, I wouldn't even venture a guess what Lake County, DuPage County, all those counties are collecting every year in bond money. Now, when you figure that 10% of that we keep, that's, I mean, I'm no mathematician, but that sounds like about $300,000 that we won't have anymore. And everybody says, well, you know, why should the county benefit from making an arrest and somebody posting bond? Well, people forget there's a cost to doing business. There's a cost to prosecute them. There's a cost to defend them. There's a cost for the circuit clerk. There's a cost for probation. There's a cost for police. And now, as I've said before 100 times, the people who are going to bear that cost are law-abiding citizens through no fault of their own. They're going to bear that cost instead of the ones who are committing all this chaos. So that's what we've got in Illinois. So, and I think that's it.
You just have all kinds of good news.
Please don't call me the Grim Reaper.
Yeah. Any other questions for the sheriff? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Up next, animal control, Carrie Laird. And you're going to have some explaining to do to the committee. In the package, you have a copy of Carrie's monthly report. Take a motion to approve that by Mr. Eckhoff, second by Mr. Hunter. New to this committee, for this report, would you like to explain a little bit about it?
Sure. The top part is revenue that we accept that comes into our building. As far as the registration, that is rabies tags. So you go to the vet's office, you get your dog vaccinated, the rabies tags fees comes to us. That's the majority of our income. So you can see this year we've collected $329,000 overall, and $248,000 of that has been registration income. So that is the majority of our budget, and the law-abiding citizens for animals provide that for us. So you can see at the bottom the animal inventory. We have increased significantly in last year. Our end of month was 44 animals, which is a lot for our small building. We are not equipped to handle that many animals at one time, especially the amount of staff that we have. So we have been able to do it safely. It's just been taken a while for us to get to that process of handling them appropriately. Some of those are puppies, which do take a lot more time for us to clean, and so we have had to hire more staff because of that. Our euthanasia has gone up, unfortunately. That is because there are more animals in the county and more stray animals and more unwanted pets because they are not spaying or neutering the pets. They come to our building. They are not the greatest pets that you could say you would want in your backyard, your neighbor's backyard. They are unfortunately not able to be adopted, so they are therefore euthanized, or they are unhealthy animals, sick, something like that. We do, and that number is owner surrendered euthanasia. So if you have a pet that you can no longer care for and their pet is sick, we will euthanize your animal for you. So that is included into that number as well. Questions on that?
Any questions so far on that? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The only other thing I have is a building update. So I was informed last week that we are potentially breaking ground at the beginning of September. So which is great news for us.
Good.
So we will put out some kind of a notice. Everybody will be invited to attend the groundbreaking, and we are happy to have that happening quickly. Because you can see by our numbers, we need it.
Don't make it the 17th of September. We've already got an
It's my
invite.
anniversary. Yeah. No, it's the, I think it's the first week. It's scheduled for the first week as of right now, according to the White and Company.
Mr. Hunter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Can you give me the status report on Kankakee City's agreement with you guys?
So we don't have a current contract with them. We are kind of waiting at this point until our new building opens, because you can see by our numbers with the contracts that we currently have, we have a lot of animals. We do take animals from the city, but if we were able to tell them we can hold on to them, somebody can hold on to them for the morning, and we're able to take them later, or we can't hold certain animals at certain times. So there is no current contract. We're waiting for the new building. We'll have more space.
Okay, but let me ask you this now. Who's interfacing with Kankakee City regarding the contract?
That would be myself.
Okay, and who are you interfacing with
Mayor Curtis.
Curtis. Okay, and when's the last time you had a conversation with him?
Probably less than a month ago.
And was it positive, or?
Yes. No, he's very willing to sign a contract with us. We're holding off on our end because of the building. We don't have the numbers to take in every animal at this time. City has been able to, they've been very understanding on that. We have way too many animals dealing with other areas of the county to assist all the time with the city. They have been understanding. We still do accept their animals, just not every single time. They've been able to find owners on their own, which has been helpful.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Carrie? Thank you. Up next, Coroner's Office, Mr. Gessner. In your packet, you have a copy of the monthly report and the monthly receipts of money. Take a motion to combine and approve them. Mr. Hunter? Mr. Eckhoff? Good morning, Bob.
Morning, Chairman. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good.
Comments on your reports, sir?
Just to let you know that the last few months we've really been low on autopsies, but and number of calls. So we're now increasing, especially in July, where if you go all the way down to the list, or I had to change here this morning because we've had a change already. We've had 15 suicides at this point right now, which is unbelievable in this county at 107,000. So last year altogether we had 22. So we're pretty concerned on that. And then also other ones, and I'll talk a little bit about the overdoses are now starting to increase again. So other than that, everything's pretty simplified in July here. So yeah, I'll take any questions on that before I move
Any
over.
questions on the reports? We have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Well, we were moving right along with 19, 19, 19 all the time, but now we've increased now to 26, 5 in the last 3 days of overdoses. That's a lot in our area. As Mr. Rowe gave me a call yesterday and asked me if I would come out to the Pembroke area, I'd be more than happy to come out there to talk because of the difference between, we're seeing a lot into the cocaine back again, but it's being mixed. 84% still rises, I believe, in overdose cases of fentanyl mixed with cocaine, mixed in a little bit with marijuana. This is stuff that really irritates me. And the average age is 50 years of age. You know, you would think it would be lower on that, but it's the youngest we've had was 42. So, and the oldest is 77. But we're continuing on. I was happy that I'll get an opportunity to go out to the Pembroke area. I've been trying to get out there for a long time there, and now I get the opportunity. I'm going to go out there and speak on how powerful these drugs are. And then the xylazine is being shown all around us in Will, DePage, and it's going to be coming down to us again. That's also a mixture of one day. In one case, we've had fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, and xylazine all mixed together. So people that were on it, I talk about people that I know that might be on cocaine, telling you, watch yourself, you know, it's illegal, you know, but the fact is, you don't know what's going to be in there. Where do you buy that stuff at? But continually working with the law enforcement, they're doing an excellent job trying. I don't know what the Safety Act is going to do to us when we arrest somebody with the narcotics. But I know you can have xylazine in it and they can't do anything about it, which we're trying to. We've been down to state and talked to senators, and both Jim and I had the opportunity. It's just it's mind-boggling to find out, which is costing again the taxpayers of the amount of money it's costing us in doing autopsies. And not only that, out of that, the ones we've had already, as I talked about 5, I think Eric told me this morning that we've had between 3 to 4 that we've been able to get away from doing an overdose because it's a car accident and the cause of death is blunt force trauma from an automobile mishap. So there's no alcohol, no drugs are going to be involved in it, even though they came back positive. So it's just something it's constantly on my mind, and I'll continue to work hard as I can. And Eric and I will. We still are going out to the seniors and talking to them, and hopefully do more school programs coming up here. I'll take any questions that you have on
Any questions? That's it.
That's it for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Any old business come for the committee? Any old business? Any new business? Mr. Carrico. Second by Miss Andrade. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.